It begins with a decision. I'm going to, maybe it's a project or an enterprise. Maybe it's a life goal like getting healthy or fit or organized. Whatever it is, once you decide you're going to do it, you're faced with choices. Of course, if it's something you've successfully done before, those choices are easy. You know where to start, the steps you'll need to take. There may be a few tweaks required, but the path is pretty well mapped out. But what if it's something new, something different, or something you've tried before with limited or even a complete lack of success? Then, once you've said, I'm going to, where do you begin? Basically, there are 7 major phases to what comes after the I'm going to decision. We need information, we need a plan, we need to take our first steps, we need to manage our resources, we need to deal with curveballs and speed bumps, we need to maintain momentum, and eventually we will need to reevaluate. There are 2 distinct patterns that these phases commonly take. One is what I call the Overwhelm Spiral. We get on this spiral when we get all fired up, either from fear or from excitement, about what we've decided we're going to do. We begin in a state of overwhelm, and instead of asking ourselves the questions only we can answer, we immediately turn to other people. We're asking questions, mostly how do I questions, but we haven't answered the why and what and for whom questions. So we're asking the wrong questions, and wrong questions always lead to wrong answers. We don't know what we don't know, and we're not sure what we're going to need to know. But we do know other people have done what we want and need to do. And there are a lot of those people who are teaching what they've done. So we head for what I call the candy shop, the free information, the teleseminars and free reports and interviews. We listen, we download, we ask the opinions of our colleagues, our Facebook friends, our next door neighbors. We gorge. And that's the next phase in this spiral. At the point when we need to be creating our plan, we are gorged on all the information we can get. We know we need to get started, so we're consuming it without digesting it. It's like we're in a candy shop where everything is free, but we can only take away what we can eat. And it all looks so good. We don't want to miss out on one glossy red lollipop or one chocolate truffle covered with rare exotic chilies. We want it all. We need it all. But we don't know what to do with it all. More overwhelm. We do know that nothing happens without action, massive action. So, high on the sweet taste of other people's success stories, we start taking action. Frantic, excited action. We're doing a lot, but we're committing to very little. We're burning off the sugar, but we're not going to be able to sustain the progress because we didn't take the time to digest, assimilate, strategize, and create a meal plan, if you will, that will feed us for the journey. We've forgotten half of what we gorged on, and the other half seems out of our reach, because of course all of that free candy was offered with just a hint at the glories kept in the back of the candy store, the full meals served only to insiders. Now understand something, I am not against the idea of offering free samples as a way to interest prospective clients in your full services. It's a proven method, it offers a ton of value, and it's been successfully and ethically used to sell everything from Mrs. Fields cookies to high-end coaching packages. I've used it, you probably have too. The problem isn't the offering of free candy, any more than the obesity problem can be blamed on the availability of soda and fast food. The problem is the behavior of the consumer, in this case, you and me. But if we're sliding down the overwhelm spiral, our consumer behavior is to take a sample here, a sample there, a free report from this expert, a free teleseminar from another one, and try to create a meal from these free candy samples. That doesn't work as a meal plan, and this is a critical phase of this decision cycle. So we've been burning through resources, taking erratic action, and losing focus with every step. Speaking of steps, you would think that with all that massive action, we'd at least be making some progress, right? Well, let's say sometimes, but usually those starts are false starts. They're start and stops. The 2 steps forward and 1 back, 1 to the right and 1 to the left kind of progress. We might get somewhere someday, and we might be somewhere that we wanted to go. But usually we end up sitting down by the side of the road and looking back to realize we haven't come very far at all. And guess how we feel? Overwhelmed. So we reevaluate and we wonder if we'll ever catch up, keep up, measure up, or even be able to stand up. And usually we feel let down, run down, worn down, and it's really tempting to start putting ourselves down. And we start to wonder what we're missing. Because all those other people who did what we're trying to do had such different results than what we're having. And our perception is that either we don't have enough, we aren't doing enough, or just that we aren't enough. And with that perception, fear takes over. All we can see now are the curveballs, the brick walls, the things that didn't turn out the way they were supposed to. That bird's nest of ideas and information that we've been collecting, the worksheets and audios, the opinions and advice of family and friends, it starts to turn into twigs and string. More overwhelm. And finally, we succumb to paralysis. That urge to crawl back in bed or under it and do nothing. And doing nothing isn't such a bad thing if you use that time to reevaluate and start again, smarter. But paralysis isn't just about doing nothing. It's about risking nothing, believing in nothing, and being afraid of everything. And then we say, I am not going to let this beat me. I'm going to. And with that statement, we have a choice. We can begin the spiral again, or we can do something different. If we have learned nothing from that loop around the spiral, if we go back to the candy store without answering those why and what and for whom questions, we'll just loop back around the spiral. But we'll probably do it faster, spending less time in each phase, and we'll probably sink even lower. Usually, the first few times we start this process, we begin in a state of optimism. Then, after experiencing the spiral once or twice, we start to become skeptical. Then we start to blame, usually ourselves first. If other people have successfully built a business, written a book, lost the weight, found a soulmate, then surely the lack is our own. But then we often spiral deeper and begin to blame our circumstances on others. We fall into the trap of victimhood, and if we ride that spiral often enough, we eventually reach a point of despair and apathy, which usually sounds like, I'll just get a job, stay fat, stay single. But there is another pattern we can choose. If we develop the ability, the power of self-awareness and evaluation, we will completely change where we begin the pattern. If we learn to differentiate and be discriminating in how we expend our resources of time, energy, money, connections, and so on, we will completely change how we fuel our journey and how we use the fuel. And if we use an approach of creating strategy based on momentum, focused activity, consistent next steps, we will completely change our outcomes. We will stop spiraling down and start creating a circle of expanding growth, a circle that is, in fact, completely unlimited in how far it can expand. It looks like this. You make a decision. I'm going to. Nothing different there. But your self-awareness allows you to be clear about your purpose, your desire, and your ability to evaluate allows you to analyze the gaps, the needs, the things now keeping you from having what you desire. Now, you still may take samples from the candy store. In fact, I encourage you to do so. There are literally thousands of amazing experts offering highly valuable content in their free sample section of the store. And samples are simply a way to try before you buy, so you can have more assurance that what you're getting is a good fit. But you'll be sampling with a more discriminating palate, shall we say, not gorging for fear of missing out. You know what you're looking for, and you won't eat another bite if it isn't a match. You're seeking expertise, not information, ideas, and opinions. Having been discriminating in the resources you've collected, you can now create a strategy, mapping out your first few priorities. You don't need to map out every step, but it doesn't hurt anything so long as you maintain your self-awareness, your ability to evaluate, differentiate, and discriminate, because you'll be aware if the strategy and plan needs to change. From there, you can take your first step or two. Maybe that's to start doing some market research, product development, take a course, whatever, but you aren't getting ready to begin, you're beginning. Since you aren't beginning with frantic excitement, although you're probably every bit as excited, maybe more so because your vision is clearer, your belief is likely stronger, so you're more willing to allow yourself to be excited. But you'll be able to more creatively leverage your existing resources. Have a half an hour a day? You know what to do with it that will move you forward because you have a plan. If someone asks how they can help, you have an answer because you have a plan. You know what to ask for and what to say yes to, and you also know what you need to not fall prey to and what will need to be a no for now. This clear vision, strategic plan, and creative leveraging of resources builds momentum, consistent, focused activity. Of course, you will still have curveballs, speed bumps, maybe even a few things that look suspiciously like brick walls. Your old conditioning will set off fear responses. Anxiety and panic will threaten. But return to the plan. Look at the progress that you've made. And if it helps, remind yourself that Rome wasn't built in a day. You're getting there. You can afford to be persistent. But being persistent doesn't mean stubbornly pursuing a dead end. You've got that self-awareness going for you, along with the ability to differentiate and create new strategies to maintain momentum. Time to reevaluate. Now you're back at the beginning of the pattern, but you're further along. You're expanding. Maybe when you reevaluated, you said, yes, I did it. And you're at the beginning of the pattern with a new goal, a new decision, a new I'm going to. Or maybe you made progress, but you aren't where you want to be yet. What are you going to do? Begin the circle again, further along, ever expanding, limitless in possibilities. Of course, I made it sound easy. I know better, and so do you. It isn't easy, it's effort. But it doesn't have to be hard, miserable effort either. It's the difference between getting sweaty and tired training for or playing a sport that we love, or building the kids a treehouse, versus getting sweaty and tired slogging away going nowhere, and not even getting there very fast. I've done both, the easy and the hard. And I know which pattern I choose. How about you?